My wife arrived from her vacation with her lover and her mom, but I sold the house. My name is Desmond, and the day my wife kissed me goodbye for her girl's vacation, I kissed her back like a fool. Charity stood by the door with her suitcase. Her mother, Lorraine, was already in the car outside, honking like we were late for something important. Charity smiled at me. The same smile she used when she wanted things to look normal. 2 weeks, she said. Just me and Mom. I need a break. I nodded. Sure. I didn't ask which friends were joining. I didn't ask why she suddenly decided her mother was her favorite travel partner. I didn't ask because I already knew something was wrong. I just didn't have the full proof yet. The truth is, I'd been living with suspicion for months. Charity used to be predictable, not boring, just steady. She talked about her day. She asked about mine. She laughed at dumb movies. She complained about bills, traffic, and the same annoying coworker. Then things changed. She began guarding her phone like it was a life support machine. She started stepping outside for quick calls and coming back with that blank face like nothing happened. She began going to bed later than me, saying she was catching up on emails. But I would wake up to the glow of her screen and the quiet tapping of her fingers. One night I rolled over and asked, "Who are you texting at midnight?" She didn't even blink. My friend Tessa. She's going through a breakup. Every night? She stared at me like I was crazy. Desmond, why are you acting insecure? That word insecure became her shield. Any question I asked became a problem with me. If I noticed her distance, I was controlling. If I asked why she was always working late, I was jealous. If I asked why she was cold in bed, I was pressuring her. So I stopped asking. I started watching. I checked our phone bill once. Strange numbers showed up repeatedly. I called one from a work line. A man answered, then hung up fast. When I called back, it went straight to voicemail. I listened to the voice greeting. A calm male voice, confident, like someone who didn't worry about consequences. I confronted Charity the next day. "Who is this number?" I asked, keeping my voice even. She glanced at it and shrugged. "Probably spam. Why are you tracking phone numbers?" "I'm not tracking. It's on the bill. It's constant." She rolled her eyes. "You're really doing this right now?" That's how she handled everything. She turned it around until I felt like I was the one ruining the marriage. Her mother made it worse. Lorraine had never liked me. She tolerated me because I was stable, because I had a good job and a house, because I didn't drink too much, didn't gamble, and didn't embarrass her daughter. But she never respected me. Sometimes she would visit and make small comments. "This house is nice," she'd say, looking around, "but a woman needs more than walls." Or, "Charity is too young to feel stuck." Or, "Men like you don't understand what a woman needs." One time I asked her directly, "Lorraine, what do you mean by that?" She smiled like she was above the question. "Nothing, Desmond, just life advice." So when Charity left for that girl's vacation, Lorraine looked back from the passenger seat and gave me this satisfied little smirk, like she knew something I didn't. Charity kissed me and whispered, "Don't start problems while I'm gone." Okay. I watched her walk away, and something inside me didn't hurt the way it used to. It felt numb, like my body was preparing for impact. The moment their car pulled away, I went inside, sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I had been collecting pieces for months, not to spy for fun, not because I enjoyed it, but because I needed the truth. I needed to know if I was crazy or if I was being played. And that night, as I stared at my screen, I made a quiet promise to myself. If I find the truth, I won't beg. I won't fight. I'll act. 3 days before Charity was supposed to return, I got the proof that ended my marriage in my head. Before it ended on paper. It came from something simple, a shared email account. Years ago, Charity convinced me to create a joint email for bills and home stuff. The idea sounded responsible. I didn't realize it would become the place where she got careless. That evening, I checked the inbox for a utility confirmation. Instead, I saw a notification from a travel site. At first, I thought it was about her trip. Then I noticed the details. 2 guests. 1 room. A romantic package. Not a girl's getaway. Not a group booking. Not two separate rooms for mother and daughter. I clicked it, my hand steady, even though my chest felt tight. The reservation was under a name I recognized from those phone records. Ethan. Ethan Miller. There it was. Clear, direct, and disrespectful. Dates matched the exact days Charity claimed she would be away with friends. I kept reading. It got worse. A second email showed an upgrade request. The message said, "Please make sure the room is private. It's our anniversary trip." Our anniversary wasn't during that time. Her anniversary with him was. I sat back and stared at the screen. No dramatic reaction, no yelling, just silence in my head and one thought repeating, so I wasn't crazy. Then I checked the photo cloud, another thing we used to share for family pictures and documents. Charity always insisted on saving receipts and photos there in case something happens. Something happened, all right. A folder was recently updated. I clicked it. Selfies. Charity in a hotel mirror, wearing a robe, smiling like she didn't have a husband at home. Ethan beside her, shirtless, grinning, like he won something. And then the photo that made my stomach drop. Charity's mother, Lorraine, sitting at a table across from them, holding a drink, smiling proudly, like she was part of the plan, like she approved. I didn't cry. I didn't punch a wall. I didn't call her. I took screenshots of everything. Then I opened my notes and started listing what I needed to do. Because betrayal like that doesn't deserve a conversation. First, it deserves consequences. For 10 years, our house had been in my name. I bought it before we got married. I made the down payment alone. The mortgage came from my account. Charity contributed to decorations and some furniture, but the property was mine. We had talked about adding her later, but I never did it. Not because I didn't trust her at the time, mostly because it felt unnecessary. Now that unnecessary detail became the biggest protection I had. The next morning, I called a realtor named Vanessa that my coworker recommended. "Is this a bad time?" she asked. "No," I said. "I need to sell my house quickly." Vanessa paused. "That's unusual. Is everything okay?" I didn't give her my life story. I want it listed immediately. I need a fast sale, but I won't give it away. She asked for the address. She asked about repairs. She asked about legal ownership. When she confirmed, the deed was solely in my name. Her tone shifted. "That makes this simpler," she said. "Good," I replied. "I want simple." Within hours, she was at the house. She walked through the rooms taking notes. "Nice place," she said. "You're going to get strong offers." I kept my face neutral. "Then let's move." The first day it went live, there were showings. The second day, there were offers. One offer came in higher than asking cash. Quick closing. A middle-aged woman named Denise wanted to move fast. She was relocating, needed a clean deal, and didn't want drama. I almost laughed when I heard that. "No drama," I told Vanessa. I didn't think about Charity's feelings, not because I was heartless, because she already made her choice. She brought her mother into it. She brought another man into it. She made a fool out of me while smiling in my face. So I made a plan. I packed only what mattered. Documents, clothes, personal things, and anything I bought before the marriage that had meaning. I removed every sensitive paper. I changed passwords. I moved my accounts. I spoke to a lawyer and scheduled an appointment for the week she returned. And every night I looked at those screenshots again, not to torture myself, but to keep my spine stiff. Because I knew what was coming. Charity would return thinking she could walk back into my life like nothing happened, and I would make sure she couldn't. By the time Charity's flight was 2 days away, the deal was done. I sat across from my lawyer Mark in his office and slid the documents toward him. He flipped through them slowly, then looked up at me. "You're sure about this?" he asked. "Once this closes, there's no going back." "I'm sure," I said. He studied my face like he was trying to find hesitation. There was none. The pain had already passed. What remained was clarity. "The house was yours before the marriage," Mark said legally. "She has no claim to it. Selling it is within your rights, but you should be prepared. She's not going to take this calmly. I nodded. She didn't take my marriage calmly either. Mark leaned back. And the divorce? I want to file as soon as she lands, I replied. No drama, no shouting. I want everything clean. He gave a short nod. I'll prepare the paperwork. When I left his office, my phone buzzed. A message from Charity. Landing soon. I miss you. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then locked the phone without replying. Miss me? That thought almost made me laugh. She missed the stability. She missed the house. She missed the version of me who stayed quiet and trusted blindly. That version of me was gone. The next day, I met Denise the buyer at the house for the final walkthrough. She was polite, friendly, and business-focused. No questions about why I was selling so suddenly. No emotional attachment. This place is perfect, she said, walking through the living room. I'm glad we moved fast. So am I replied. We signed the final papers at the title office that afternoon. The ownership officially transferred. The house that once represented my marriage was no longer mine, and that was exactly how I wanted it. Vanessa shook my hand. Congratulations, she said. You did very well on this sale. Thank you, I said, and for the first time in years, I meant it. That night I slept at a hotel, not because I had nowhere to go. I had already rented a furnished apartment under my name, because I didn't want to be anywhere near that house when Charity arrived. I didn't want her tears, her shouting, or her excuses echoing in rooms that no longer belonged to me. Around midnight, my phone rang. Charity. I let it ring. Then another call. Then a message. Why aren't you answering? I didn't reply. Lorraine tried next. I recognized her number immediately. I let that ring too. By morning, my phone was full of missed calls, but I felt strangely calm. Every unanswered ring felt like me taking something back. My time. My energy. My dignity. I drove past the house one last time that morning, just to see it. Denise's car was already in the driveway. The new security system had been installed overnight. The locks had been changed. Good. I parked across the street and waited. I didn't have to wait long. A rented van pulled up around noon. Charity stepped out first, dragging 2 large suitcases. She looked relaxed, tanned, confident. Lorraine followed behind her, smiling like a woman returning from a successful mission. Then Ethan stepped out. He looked exactly like I imagined. Tall, casual, comfortable, like a man who thought he had won. They laughed as they walked toward the house. Charity didn't hesitate. She went straight to the door and put the key in the lock. It didn't turn. She frowned and tried again. Still nothing. Is the lock broken? She muttered. Lorraine crossed her arms. Try harder. Charity pushed the key with force. Nothing. Then she noticed the security camera, the new keypad, the unfamiliar car. Her smile disappeared. What is going on? She said. The door opened before she could knock. Denise stood there holding a mug. Yes? Denise said pleasantly. Can I help you? Lorraine stepped forward. This is our house. Denise smiled politely. I don't think so. I bought this house 3 days ago. Charity's face went white. That's when she saw me standing by the gate, leaning against my car, watching everything unfold. Charity dropped her suitcase. It hit the driveway hard, but she didn't seem to notice. Her eyes were locked on me like she was trying to wake herself from a nightmare. Desmond, she said, what is this? I pushed myself off the car and walked toward them calmly. No anger, no shaking, just facts. You went on vacation with your lover, I said, with your mother's full support, so I sold the house. Lorraine gasped like she was offended. How dare you speak like that? I held up my hand. She froze. For 10 years I respected you, I continued. I tolerated your comments, your interference, your disrespect, and you rewarded me by helping your daughter cheat on me. Lorraine opened her mouth again, but no words came out. Charity turned to Ethan. Did you know about this? Ethan stepped back slightly. Look, this isn't my problem. You said the house was yours. Charity stared at him like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. You said everything was under control, she whispered. Ethan shrugged. I'm not getting involved in family drama. That's when the cracks started showing. Charity turned back to me, panic setting in. Desmond, you can't do this. This is our home. It was my home, I corrected, before you decided I was disposable. She rushed toward me and grabbed my arm. Please, let's talk. Whatever you think you know. I know everything, I said evenly. The hotel bookings. The photos. Ethan, your mother, smiling like a proud accomplice. Lorraine's face twisted. You invaded her privacy. No, I said. She invited me into the lie. Charity's legs gave out. She dropped to her knees on the driveway, crying openly now. I made a mistake, she sobbed. It didn't mean anything. I looked down at her. 2 years isn't a mistake. It's a decision. She reached for my hand. Desmond, please, she said. Where are we supposed to go? I looked at Ethan. He avoided eye contact. Then I looked back at her. That's no longer my problem. Denise cleared her throat from the doorway. I'm going to call security, if this continues. I nodded at her. Understood. Charity stood up slowly, wiping her face. You're doing this because you're jealous, because you can't compete. That's when I finally felt something. Not anger, but relief. I'm doing this because I respect myself, I said. Something you stopped doing a long time ago. I opened my car door. This is the last time we speak without lawyers, I said. Divorce papers will be served this week. Lorraine shouted after me, You'll regret this. I paused and looked back. I already regretted trusting you, I said. This feels like correction. I got into the car and drove away. In the mirror, I saw Charity standing alone. Her lover had already walked off. Her mother was yelling into her phone. And for the first time in years, I felt light, free, and done. I thought selling the house would bring instant peace. I was wrong. The first night in my new apartment, the silence hit harder than I expected. Not the peaceful kind. This one was heavy. No TV noise from another room. No footsteps. No fake conversations pretending everything was fine. Just me. Charity tried calling again that night, then texting, then emailing. She switched between anger and begging so fast it almost felt rehearsed. You embarrassed me. You ruined my life. Please talk to me. My mother says you've gone too far. I didn't respond to a single message. The next morning, my lawyer called. She contacted my office. Mark said she's furious. She claims emotional abuse, financial manipulation, and says you acted in bad faith. I almost laughed. Did she mention the affair? There was a pause. That's fine, I said. We'll mention it. Mark sighed. She wants mediation. I want divorce, I replied. Clean final. By midday, I heard through mutual acquaintances what happened after I left. Charity and her mother argued in the parking lot of a cheap hotel. Ethan had refused to stay with them. Apparently, once the house was gone, so was his interest. He told Charity he wasn't ready for responsibility, blocked her number. That part didn't surprise me. What did surprise me was how quickly Lorraine turned on her own daughter. According to one friend, Lorraine blamed Charity for not securing the house properly and for trusting a man too much. The man. Not her cheating daughter, not herself for encouraging it. Me? That night, Charity showed up at my office building. Security called me. There's a woman here asking for you, says it's urgent. I knew it was her. I went down anyway. She looked different, not dramatic, just tired. No confident posture, no sharp words ready to fire, just desperation. Please, she said the moment she saw me. Just 5 minutes. I crossed my arms. Say it here. Her eyes filled. I don't have anywhere to go. Ethan won't answer. My mom is blaming me. You sold the house like I meant nothing. I kept my voice steady. You treated the marriage like it meant nothing? She shook her head. I never planned for this to happen. That's the problem, I said. You planned nothing. You just took. She reached out. I stepped back. Charity, I didn't do this to hurt you, I said. I did it because I refused to be humiliated quietly. She whispered, I still love you. I looked at her for a long moment. No, I said. You love safety, and I'm no longer providing it. Security cleared their throat. I nodded. This conversation is over, I said. Any further contact goes through lawyers. As she walked away crying, I felt something strange. Not guilt. Closure. The divorce process moved faster than Charity expected. She assumed I would drag things out, beg, negotiate, maybe even forgive. Instead, I gave her exactly what she asked for when she chose betrayal, distance. My lawyer submitted the evidence, screenshots, dates, messages, hotel bookings, photos, her mother present, everything. Charity tried to deny it at first. Then she tried to minimize it. Then she tried to blame me. He wasn't emotionally available. He worked too much. He didn't fight for me. The judge didn't care. Facts mattered. Ownership mattered. Timelines mattered. The house was off the table. My assets were protected. No children meant no leverage. Charity walked into the courtroom confident and walked out quieter. Lorraine didn't attend the second hearing. I heard later that she told relatives I destroyed her daughter's future. Some believed her. Others didn't. I stopped caring. One afternoon, after a long workday, I received a final message from Charity. I never thought you would actually leave me with nothing. I typed a response, then deleted it. Instead, I let silence answer her. Weeks later, the divorce was finalized. No dramatic ending, no last confrontation, just a signature and a stamp. On my way out of the courthouse, I felt lighter than I had in years, not because I won, but because I was done carrying something that never respected me. A month later, I heard the final update. Charity moved back in with her mother. They argued constantly. Ethan had moved on publicly. New woman, new posts, same smile. Charity sent him messages from a new number. He blocked that too. Her fantasy collapsed under the weight of reality. As for me, I started living again. Not chasing revenge, not proving a point, just choosing myself. Betrayal taught me something simple but powerful. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And when they leave your life for a fantasy, let them keep it. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I thought Charity was finally out of my life. I was wrong. Regret doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't announce itself. It slips in quietly, usually when the person who caused the damage realizes there's no rescue coming. Charity emailed me from an unfamiliar address. I don't expect you to reply. I just need you to know the truth. I almost deleted it, almost. But curiosity won. She wrote about how everything fell apart after I left, how living with her mother turned into daily arguments, how Lorraine constantly reminded her that she lost a good man, how the same woman who encouraged the affair now acted like she had always warned her against it. She wrote about Ethan. He told me he loved me when things were easy, she said, but the moment reality showed up, he disappeared. I defended him for so long that I ignored who he really was. I stopped reading for a moment. That part hit harder than I expected, not because I missed her, but because I recognized the pattern. She had defended Ethan the same way she once defended me to her friends when she still cared. Back then, I didn't notice how quickly loyalty could switch sides. Her email continued. I thought freedom would make me happy instead. I wake up every day, realizing I destroyed my marriage for something that never existed. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I just want you to know. I see it now. I closed the laptop and leaned back. There it was, the regret everyone talks about, the moment cheaters reach when the fantasy ends and the damage remains. But regret doesn't rewind time, it doesn't rebuild trust, and it doesn't earn a second chance by itself. I didn't reply. That night, I ran into a mutual friend at a restaurant. She hesitated before speaking. Charity's not doing well, she said. I know, I replied. She keeps saying you were the best thing that ever happened to her. I nodded. She realized that too late. The friend sighed. Do you ever think about giving her another chance? I shook my head. I already gave her 10 years. On the way home, I reflected on something important. Charity didn't regret losing me at first. She regretted losing the comfort I provided. The house, the security, the respect. Only when all of that vanished did she begin to understand the cost of her choices. And by then, I was already gone. I didn't believe in karma the way people talk about it, like some magical punishment system. I believed in consequences. Charity's life didn't collapse overnight. It unraveled slowly, piece by piece, the same way she dismantled our marriage. Her professional life took a hit first. Rumors spread. Someone at her workplace connected the dots between her vacation, the sudden divorce, and the man she had been seeing with promotions. She once expected quietly disappeared. Her boss started treating her differently, not cruelly, just cautiously. Trust is like that. Once cracked, people see you through a different lens. Then her relationship with her mother changed. Lorraine blamed Charity for everything now, for depending on me, for not being smart enough, for embarrassing the family. The same woman who smiled in those hotel photos now acted like the affair was Charity's foolish idea alone. Charity called me one night. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "I know you don't owe me anything," she said, her voice shaking, "but I need you to know. I finally understand what I lost. You didn't just give me a house. You gave me stability, respect, love, and I traded it for attention." I deleted the message. Not out of anger. Out of acceptance. Because I didn't need apologies to heal, I needed distance. Meanwhile, my life moved forward quietly. No dramatic glow-up, no public celebrations, just peace. I focused on my work. I rebuilt routines. I slept better. I laughed again without forcing it. One evening, as I sat alone in my apartment, I realized something simple. I wasn't waiting for karma anymore. I had already received my reward the day I chose myself. Charity lost a marriage because she believed loyalty was optional. I gained my freedom because I refused to stay where I wasn't respected. That was karma enough. 6 months passed without Charity's name crossing my mind every day. That alone told me how far I had come. Healing didn't arrive in a dramatic moment. It came quietly, through routine, waking up without tension, going to work without checking my phone, coming home without wondering who was lying to me. I moved into a better apartment closer to my office, smaller than the house I sold, but it felt right. Everything in it was mine. No shared memories, no silent resentment built into the walls. People around me noticed the change. "You look different," a coworker said one afternoon. "Different how?" "Lighter," he replied, "like you finally dropped something heavy." He was right. For years, I carried the weight of fixing a marriage I didn't break. I blamed myself for Charity's distance. I tried harder when she pulled away. I adjusted when she disrespected me. I convinced myself that love meant endurance. I was wrong. Love means mutual effort, and without that, endurance turns into self-destruction. One evening, I ran into Ethan by chance. I was leaving a gym when I saw him standing outside, scrolling through his phone. He recognized me immediately. His posture stiffened. "Desmond," he said awkwardly. I nodded. "Ethan." Silence stretched between us. "I didn't know things would turn out like that," he said finally. I studied him calmly. "You knew she was married?" He swallowed. "She said it was basically over." I shook my head. That's the lie people tell when they want permission to do the wrong thing. He looked uncomfortable. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone." "Intent doesn't erase damage," I replied. He nodded slowly, like the truth was sinking in. "I lost her trust," he said. "She keeps trying to reach me." I met his eyes. "Now you know how it feels to be the fallback option." I walked away, without another word. That interaction didn't bring satisfaction, it brought closure. I no longer needed validation. I no longer needed explanations. Later that week, I went on my first date since the divorce. Nothing serious, just coffee and conversation. The woman, Andrea, was direct, calm, honest. "What ended your marriage?" she asked. "Betrayal," I said, "and my refusal to accept it." She nodded. "That's fair." No judgment, no awkward silence. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen, not as a provider, not as a fixer, but as a man with boundaries. When the date ended, she smiled. "I'd like to see you again." "So would I said. Driving home, I realized something important. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means learning from it without dragging it into your future. And I was finally ready for that. Charity contacted me again 1 year after the house was sold. This time it wasn't emotional, it was calculated. She requested a meeting to clear the air. I agreed, not because I owed her anything, but because I wanted to hear what she would say when desperation was replaced with strategy. We met at a cafe, public, neutral. She arrived early, nervous, carefully dressed, like someone preparing for an interview. "You look well," she said. "So do you," I replied. It wasn't true, but I didn't correct her. She took a breath. "I've been doing a lot of reflection." "I'm sure," I said. "I wanted to apologize properly," she continued, without begging, without excuses. I leaned back. "Go on." She spoke about growth, about therapy, about accountability, about understanding her mistakes. Then came the real reason. "I think we could rebuild something," she said carefully. "Not the old marriage, something new." There it was. The attempt to rewrite history. I shook my head no. Her face tightened. "You didn't even let me finish." "I don't need to," I replied. "You're asking for access to a life you forfeited." She frowned. "People change, Desmond." "They do," I said. "But trust doesn't reset just because regret shows up late." She reached across the table. I didn't take her hand. "I lost everything," she said quietly. I met her eyes. "You didn't lose it. You traded it." She sat back, defeated. "I thought selling the house was revenge," she admitted. "It wasn't," I said. "It was a boundary." She nodded slowly. "I see that now." "I hope so," I replied, "because this is the last conversation we'll ever have." She looked like she wanted to argue, then she didn't. As I stood to leave, I said one final thing. "You didn't come back from vacation to a sold house. You came back to the consequences of your choices." I walked away without looking back. That night, I realized something final. Closure doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from choosing not to reopen doors that were closed for a reason. I didn't expect to ever hear from Lorraine again. But life has a way of circling back when unfinished business refuses to stay buried. It happened on a Saturday afternoon. I was leaving a hardware store when I heard my name. "Desmond." I turned. Lorraine stood a few feet away, holding her purse tightly like she needed it for balance. She looked older than I remembered. Not dramatic, just worn. The confidence she once carried like armor was gone. "I didn't know you shopped here," she said. "I didn't know we were on speaking terms," I replied. She nodded slowly. "We're not, but I need to talk to you." I considered walking away, but something in her voice told me this wasn't about control or insults this time. "5 minutes," I said. We sat on a bench outside. She didn't start immediately. She stared at the ground for a long moment, then finally spoke. "I made a mistake," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "That's new." She winced, but didn't argue. I encouraged her. I told her she deserved more. I told her you were predictable, safe, boring. I didn't interrupt. "I thought excitement mattered more than loyalty," she continued. "I was wrong." I crossed my arms. "You didn't just advise her, you participated." Her eyes filled slightly. "I know." Silence settled between us. "She hates me now," Lorraine said quietly. "And I deserve it." I leaned back. "You didn't ruin my marriage alone, but you made sure it had no chance to survive." She nodded. "I thought I was protecting my daughter." "You were protecting your ego," I said. "You never respected me because I didn't scare you." That hit her harder than any insult. "You're right," she said. "You were good to her, better than I ever admitted." I stood up. "I don't need an apology," I said. "I needed you to stay out of a marriage that wasn't yours." She looked up at me. "Can you ever forgive me?" I shook my head. Forgiveness isn't the same as access. You don't get either. She swallowed hard. As I walked away, I realized something important. Lorraine wasn't sorry because of morality. She was sorry because her influence cost her control over her daughter's life. And that confirmed I made the right decision. A year and a half after the divorce, I stopped telling the story altogether. Not because it hurt, but because it no longer defined me. Charity existed only as a lesson now, not a wound. I continued seeing Andrea, slowly, carefully, with honesty instead of fear. She knew my past, but she didn't live in it. She asked questions when something bothered her. She didn't hide her phone. She didn't weaponize silence. One night, she said something that stayed with me. "You don't punish me for what someone else did to you," she said. "Thank you for that." That's when I realized healing isn't about becoming colder. It's about becoming clearer. I didn't hate Charity. I didn't wish her suffering. I simply accepted that some people are meant to exit your life, permanently, no matter how long they stayed. I heard updates occasionally. Charity moved cities, changed jobs, cut off contact with Ethan completely. Her relationship with her mother remained strained. They lived together, but there was no closeness anymore, just shared space and unresolved blame. That was their karma. Mine was peace. One evening, as I stood on my apartment balcony, Andrea beside me, I thought about the house. Selling it wasn't revenge. It was me refusing to let betrayal follow me into my future. I didn't burn the past down. I walked away from it. And that made all the difference. For a long time, I didn't realize how deeply I had blamed myself. Even after the divorce, even after the house sale, even after the proof, and the apologies, and the regret. On Charity's face, somewhere deep inside, I still carried a quiet question. What if I had done more? That question finally died the day I ran into Charity's cousin, Melissa. We crossed paths at a grocery store. She recognized me instantly and froze like she wasn't sure whether to greet me or pretend I didn't exist. "Desmond," she said carefully. "Melissa," I replied. "It's been a while." She nodded. "Yeah, it has." We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then she surprised me. "I owe you an apology," she said. I blinked. "For believing the wrong version of the story," she said. "Charity told everyone you were cold, controlling, that you sold the house to punish her." I felt no anger, just clarity. "And now?" I asked. "She told me everything." Melissa admitted the affair. "Her mom's involvement, the lies, the way you found out." I nodded slowly. "She said you didn't yell," Melissa continued. "You didn't beg. You just acted." "That's true," I said. Melissa looked almost ashamed. "We made you the villain because it was easier than admitting she destroyed her own marriage." There it was. That was the final piece I didn't know I needed. "I appreciate you saying that," I said honestly. She hesitated. "She regrets it every day." "I know," I replied. "Regret doesn't change outcomes." Melissa nodded. "I see that now." As I walked away, something inside me settled. I wasn't cold. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't calculating. I was a man who chose self-respect after being disrespected. That day, I stopped replaying old conversations in my head. I stopped rewriting moments where I imagined different endings. I stopped wondering how things could have been saved. Because the truth was simple, I didn't lose my marriage. Charity abandoned it. And selling the house wasn't revenge. It was me refusing to keep paying emotional rent for a place I was no longer welcome in. That realization brought a level of peace I hadn't expected. Not loud peace. Quiet peace. The kind that doesn't need validation. Freedom doesn't always feel good at first. At the beginning, it feels unfamiliar. Almost uncomfortable, like wearing new shoes that haven't shaped to your feet yet. But eventually it becomes normal. That's what happened to me. I stopped checking my phone for messages that would never come. I stopped bracing myself for conflict in moments that didn't require it. I stopped apologizing for existing in my own life. Andrea noticed before I did. "You're fully present now," she said one evening. "You don't drift anymore." She was right. I wasn't living in the past or defending myself against ghosts. I was simply living. We talked about the future, not in promises, but in possibilities. No pressure, no rushing, just honesty. One night she asked, "Do you ever regret how it ended with Charity?" I thought about it carefully. "No," I said. "I regret that it happened, but not how I handled it." She smiled. "That's a strong answer." "It had to be," I replied. "Weak endings create long pain. Strong endings hurt once." I heard later that Charity had started telling people a different story now. Not one where I was the villain. One where she admitted she lost someone who truly loved her. Some people believed her. Some didn't. It didn't matter anymore. The last time I ever saw her was from a distance. We passed each other on the street. She noticed me. I noticed her. We didn't stop. We didn't wave. We didn't speak. And that was perfect. Because closure doesn't always come with words. Sometimes it comes with mutual silence and separate paths. That night, as I locked my apartment door, I realized something final. Selling the house didn't end my marriage. It ended my suffering. And walking away didn't make me heartless. It made me free. 2 years after the divorce, my life no longer felt like a recovery process. It felt like a new structure, one I built deliberately. I had changed jobs by then, not because I needed to escape memories, but because an opportunity came that fit who I had become. Better hours, more responsibility, less chaos. I was no longer chasing approval or trying to prove stability to anyone. Andrea and I moved forward carefully. We didn't rush into labels or promises. We talked about expectations early. Money, boundaries, loyalty, communication. Things I once assumed didn't need to be discussed. I learned that assumptions are where most relationships die quietly. One evening, while we were having dinner at my place, Andrea asked a simple question. "If Charity had never cheated, do you think you'd still be married?" I didn't answer immediately. "Yes," I said honestly, "but I wouldn't have been happy." She looked surprised. "Because the cheating didn't start the problem," I said. "It revealed it. I spent years shrinking myself to keep peace. That doesn't disappear just because someone stays faithful." Andrea nodded. "That's self-awareness." It was also truth. Charity didn't just betray me physically. She trained me to doubt my instincts, to question my worth, to accept disrespect in small doses until it felt normal. Losing the house didn't break her. Losing control did. And I realized something important. I had mistaken tolerance for love. Love isn't quiet suffering, it's mutual protection. A few weeks later, I received a letter in the mail, no return address. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Charity. I almost threw it away. Almost. She wrote about her life now, about therapy, about how she finally understood how much damage she caused. Not just to me, but to herself. She didn't ask for reconciliation. She didn't ask for money or help. She wrote one sentence that stood out. "I thought I could destroy you quietly and keep the benefits. I didn't expect you to walk away with your dignity." That sentence said more than any apology ever could. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer, not to reread, not to cherish, just to close the chapter properly. Later that night, Andrea asked what I was thinking about. "The past," I said. She smiled gently. "You don't live there anymore?" She was right. I didn't. I lived in a present where I trusted myself again, where silence wasn't threatening, where loyalty wasn't a bargaining chip. I didn't rebuild my life to prove Charity wrong. I rebuilt it because I finally understood what I deserved. People think karma is dramatic. They imagine public humiliation, sudden downfall, or instant regret. That's not how it works. Karma is quiet. It shows up in who stays and who leaves. It shows up in empty rooms, where there should have been peace. It shows up when excuses run out and accountability finally knocks. Charity didn't end up ruined. She wasn't homeless. She didn't spiral publicly. Life didn't punish her loudly. It punished her honestly. She lost trust. She lost credibility. She lost the version of herself who believed she could take without consequences. And, worst of all, she lost the ability to rewrite the story. Because no matter how she explained it, the truth stayed the same. She betrayed a man who loved her, enabled by the person who should have taught her better. Lorraine faded into the background. Her influence weakened. Her opinions carried less weight. People stopped seeking her advice. She learned, too late, that interference doesn't create power, it creates damage. That was her karma. Mine was different. Mine was waking up without anxiety. Mine was choosing honesty over comfort. Mine was learning that walking away doesn't make you weak, it makes you unavailable for disrespect. One night, Andrea asked me something that closed the circle completely. If Charity showed up today and apologized again, would it affect you? I didn't hesitate. No, I said, because I forgave myself already. She smiled. That's the hardest part. And she was right. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need public validation. I didn't need Charity to suffer. I needed to stop abandoning myself to keep someone else comfortable. Selling the house wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. Divorce wasn't failure. It was correction. And starting over wasn't fear. It was freedom. I didn't win because Charity lost. I won because I chose myself when it mattered most. I didn't expect Charity's name to come up again. But when it did, it felt final. Like closing a door I hadn't realized was still cracked open. It happened during a small gathering at a coworker's house. Nothing dramatic. Just people talking, laughing, catching up. Someone mentioned moving real estate and bad investments. Then someone else laughed and said, "Remember that woman who thought her husband would just accept her cheating and keep the house?" I knew instantly who they were talking about. I didn't interrupt. I didn't defend myself. I just listened. "She moved back in with her mother, right?" someone asked. "Yeah," another replied. "Then they started fighting all the time." "She lost her job last year too," someone added. "Not fired, just quietly pushed out." There was a pause. Honestly, someone said she had everything and still ruined it. That was it. No insults, no cruelty, just truth spoken casually without emotion. And for the first time, I didn't feel anything when her story was told. No pride, no anger, no sadness. Just distance. Later that night, Andrea asked, "Did that bother you?" I shook my head. It confirmed something. What? That my life moved on without dragging her consequences behind me. Charity's story no longer belonged to me. It wasn't mine to carry, explain, or correct. It existed independently now, shaped by her actions, not my reactions. That realization felt like the final release. I didn't need closure from her. The world already understood. I used to think the ending of my marriage was the hardest part of my story. I was wrong. The hardest part was choosing not to stay where I was being disrespected. Everything else followed naturally once I made that choice. Today, my life is quiet in the best way, not empty, stable, not dramatic, honest. I don't chase excitement that cost my peace. I don't confuse attention with love. I don't ignore red flags to preserve comfort. Andrea and I eventually committed not out of fear of being alone, but because we respected each other's boundaries, effort, and truth. We built something slowly, intentionally, without lies hiding under the surface. Sometimes people ask me if I regret selling the house. I don't. That house was never the loss. The loss would have been staying silent while my dignity was dismantled piece by piece. Charity didn't come back from vacation to find an empty house. She came back to find the consequences of believing she could betray me without losing anything that mattered. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I didn't beg. I chose myself. And that choice gave me something far more valuable than property or revenge. It gave me peace. That is where my story ends. Not with anger, not with victory over someone else, but with freedom, earned, protected, and never traded again.